Hello world, welcome back to Razor RC. Got a video I'm making today that I didn't ever think would actually happen, but I'm moving on to step 4 on my TLR 22T 3.0 to 4.0 conversion. I got my 3.0 in front of us. It's most of the way converted to 4.0. The only thing really left is the 4.0 chassis, which is a little bit longer. The stiffizel side rails, or mudguards as they call them. Yeah, my 3.0 was working pretty good. What happened though was actually I bent my 3.0 chassis. So this is a while back actually. The chassis I've just been running a kind of a bent chassis for a while, but yeah, pretty much it was just not completely flat anymore. I mean, you can kind of see that gap right there in the middle. You know, when I'm running the ruler down it. So my chassis was tweaked. It was bent. You know, not a big deal. It wasn't like horribly bad, but obviously not straight, and that's always going to lead to weird handling characteristics. But you know, a 4.0 chassis is fairly expensive. I think it's like $70–$80. The side rails and stuff altogether, you know, normally ends up costing about $100. But I was able to find basically a 4.0 chassis on eBay for about half price. I think it was like $40. And then with these side rails and other pieces, in total it's costing me about $63 to get all of these parts. So I figure there's a reasonable price to upgrade my 3.0 to 4.0 chassis wise. And the other thing I noticed when as I've been driving my 3.0 with most of the upgrades now, definitely check out my other videos on steps 1, 2, 3 of the conversion. You know, I basically am running the 4.0 shocks, 4.0 shock tower, the stiffizel arms, the 4.0 rear camber block, and the 4.0 body. But yeah, definitely some stuff I noticed is basically that the chassis was kind of like loading up in corners. So with that 3.0 chassis and 3.0 side rails, I could definitely feel like, you know, like the chassis is kind of load up in the corner, and then as you're starting to strain and get out of the corner, it would kind of unload a little bit unexpectedly. I mean, you can definitely feel the chassis acting like a little bit of a spring. The other thing is the car is fairly twitchy once you add all the other components. So definitely with the forward mounted shocks, the truck is very, very agile, but almost too agile, I think. So I figured, you know, going to the 4.0 chassis probably made sense, especially since my 3.0 chassis was bent, and since I got a good price on it, I'm going to be installing that. So yeah, this is part 4. Let me get these on, and then give you some more thoughts after it's been installed. Okay, and we're back. Got everything installed, doing pretty well. No real problems. Just want to give a quick overview on how the build went. So I got the chassis installed, I got the side rails installed, and then I got basically the battery mount installed. So those are the 3 parts you need. Once again, TLR 231069, the chassis. Then you basically need the mudguard set 231070, stiffizel mudguards. And the last thing you don't have to get, but the battery mount set 231067. Basically that includes these battery posts here to put your battery strap on. You could take the old parts and basically cut off the battery mounts here. You know, on the 3.0 it's basically integrated with the mudguards. On the 4.0 it's a completely different set, so that's why I bought that piece, just to give it a little bit cleaner look. So yeah, the chassis is a little bit different. I measured it. It's 1.75 millimeters longer. It's also a little bit wider, especially up front here. So as you can see, I basically am running the same electronics, but there's actually more space up front for all of your electronics. And before I was mounting the transponder on top of the servo, but now there's actually extra space. I'm going to mount it here on the left of the receiver. So plenty more space. Another difference I noticed that was a little bit surprising. So in terms of the build, there are 2 more screws I needed, so it did not include everything. I needed 2 more screws basically for the back here on the chassis. Yeah, the side guard rails mount on first, so basically installation is pretty straightforward. Just unscrew everything from your old chassis from the bottom. Basically the whole front end will come off as one giant piece, and then on the back end you basically unscrew the same thing, basically all these screws back here, and your whole transmission, motor, and battery strap will basically all come off as one giant piece. And then basically you move your side rails over and mount the new ones onto the new chassis, and then put everything back on. So other things I noticed, on the rear end, actually, I used to have a couple spacers behind the rear arms. So I had basically these little plastic spacers. They normally sit kind of behind the rear arms. You don't need them on the 4.0. I checked the 4.0 manual, they don't actually use them, so I guess there's no arm adjustment anymore, but probably because of the longer chassis, the arms basically lose that spacer. Other stuff I noticed is I'm actually running the 3.0 laydown still, and it actually had like a little mount here for a screw here on the side, but there is no hole for that, so there's nothing under there. You can just remove this if you're also running the 3.0 laydown transmission, and you know, that's basically optional. I was a little surprised that they didn't have any mounts here in the front, so basically it's just everything all the way in the back, and then basically the waterfall up front, and then there's nothing in the middle, so maybe not quite as stable as before, but you know, seems to be mounted in pretty good. So yeah, everything was pretty straightforward. Quite nice pieces. Some more stuff I noticed is they actually allow you to probably run the servo in front of or behind basically the servo mounts here. That is sort of an option part if you get the aluminum servo mounts. I'm still running the plastic one, so still running the servo up front. There's also normally a fan mount here on the side rails, so that's pretty nice. You can actually mount a fan if you're running, you know, like a stock class or whatever. I'm running 13.5, didn't really notice much issues with heat on that, so I'm just leaving that as is. Yeah, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. So altogether, pretty simple little upgrade. Going to get a chance to run this. I haven't run it yet, but I'm going to hit the track and see how it performs. You know, I expect overall that it'll just be a little more stable. Probably there's definitely less flex here in the chassis. It doesn't really bend much at all. And so I'm looking forward to this and running it. So anyways, thanks for watching. I think that's it for my conversion. The only other thing I could do is basically use the 4.0 transmission, but the 4.0 laydown is pretty much the same as the 3.0 laydown, so don't really see a reason to do that, and I should be done. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series and learned something, and you know, maybe get a chance to upgrade your 3.0 as well. All right, take care, guys.